Okay, so for our next Women's World Cup catch-up, we have with us Charlotte Fleming, who is a Barclays Women's Championship player, so playing in Tier 2 of the female pyramid. Welcome, Charlotte. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Happy to be here.
Brilliant. Thanks for making the time. I know on your busy schedule, your playing schedule. So, Charlotte, I've been sitting here having a think about the first time we ever met you from Essex FA. And I think we first come across you when we used to hold the 4v4 festivals. And we ran a 4v4 festival in Thurrock. And I think you were representing Writtle Girls. Is that true? Did you play for Writtle?
Yeah, that's where my childhood started off, playing football for Writtle. Yeah.
Okay, so I thought this would be a good opportunity because I know obviously our paths crossed, and we'll talk later on about that at the Essex Player Development Centre. But talk to us a little bit about your grassroots journey. So where it started, what clubs you played for, and what that looked like probably about 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah, so at the time, like, I started getting into my football probably down to my brother and my dad. I spent most of my Saturdays watching my brother, so I always had a ball at my feet. So I said to my dad when I was really young, I want to play football. But at that time, I wasn't fortunate enough to have a lot of girls teams available for my age. I must have been 6, and the lack of facilities and teams available for me. So went down to Writtle Miners Girls, and they had an under-10s team, and they were like, we don't have any younger girls available, but she's more than welcome to come train with her if she's capable of doing so. And I remember my first training session, all these girls were towering over me, but as soon as I had the ball at my feet, I just felt so comfortable. I felt so calm, and I just played football and I loved it. And then I was with Writtle ever since. After Writtle, I was there for a couple of years playing up. And then I went over to some boys teams. So I played for some Great Dane boys and Gallywood boys. I knew the boys from school, so it was an easy link and an easy jump for me to get into the team. And I loved it. And I think if I could recommend girls at a young age doing that, I really would, because playing with boys is just a different game. It's more physical, it's more demanding, and I really think you can tell the difference when a female player has had that experience playing with boys rather than just girls. So yeah.
And when you first started playing against boys, was that driven initially by you, or was that driven by your parents, or was that driven by encouragement from coaches?
I would definitely say it was probably driven by coaches and my dad. I think it got to a stage at Writtle where I was standing out from the crowd, and you could tell that, naturally I loved playing football and I was quite good at it. And I think my dad knew if I wanted to, see football as a future job and really make it into the women's game, I needed to be pushed. And for me at that time, boys was the option. So yeah, my dad dragged me down to some boys teams. I obviously was very nervous, very scared to begin with. Didn't feel like I would fit in and I would be accepted being a girl in an all boys team. But yeah, I'm glad he pushed me out of my comfort zone, because I really think now the player that I am, there's definitely similarities from playing with the boys.
Brilliant. Bit of Lauren James in you then, is that what you're saying?
I wish.
You can agree, because there is a little bit of Lauren James in you, Charlotte. Okay, so then I guess from a coach's point of view, I first was involved with your kind of coaching at the Essex PDC. So you came to the Player Development Centre, I think you were in year 5, or would that be right?
Yeah, something along those lines.
Year 5. So you come down to Brentwood, and you stayed at the PDC, I think, for about 3 seasons. Was that a conscious decision not to go too early into the RTCs, or the Centre of Excellence? I think it was called a bit of both during your youth. But
yeah, I think, if I'm being brutally honest, at that time, I didn't think I realised, likewise my parents realised, maybe how good I was or the potential that I had. And at that time, like I said, there just wasn't the accessibility for girls wanting to play football. So I hadn't really been exposed to the RTCs, the talent centres, the likelihoods of the Chelseas, the Arsenals. I wasn't really aware of those structures in place for girls. And I think, obviously, I'd cross paths with you, and being local to the area, you get the emails of talent centres in Essex popping up, and I think, oh, let's just go there, as that maybe being the first step forward, the olive branch. So that's really probably what it came down to. And then my dad said, look, they're doing these trials, maybe we should give it a go, you know, seeing what you're like in a bigger field of girls. And I think that's why I came down. I gave it an opportunity, and then, yeah, I was there for a good 2 or 3 years.
So you went to, I seem to recall, you went to Chelsea. I think it was about, you were with us at the Player Development Centre, maybe at the start of the under 13, or did you join Chelsea when you were under 13? Can you remember?
Yes, I think I joined Chelsea when I was about 11 or 12.
Yeah.
So that was at the time like the under 13s group. It was like 2 years. I joined them within that season.
And then how long, talk to us about your experiences at Chelsea. How long was you at Chelsea for?
I was at Chelsea for about 9-10 years. So I was very lucky and very fortunate to work my way up through the ranks at Chelsea, from under 13s, under 15s, under 16s to under 21s. And then when I was 18, I got offered a pro contract at Chelsea. So yeah, I was one of the, I suppose, lucky cases, which we're seeing more of now, that a youngster in the academy makes it all the way through. So yeah.
Just had to ignore a phone call there, Charlotte. Sorry, I don't know if you heard that.
That's all right.
Okay, so you were privileged enough, and obviously through hard work and endeavour, you were given a contract. Did you have the privilege to work under Emma Hayes?
Yeah, so I got first introduced to the first team when I was about 17. Started playing with them to get experience, to kind of open your eyes on what it really takes to be the best and be able to play in the best team. So I worked under Emma Hayes for probably 2.5 years. And no, it was a great learning curve. I gained so much knowledge, so much more tactical and technical experience. Obviously, at the time, as a youngster, playing with players that you look up to, playing with what people call, you know, the big dogs, the likes of Millie Bright, the likes of Sam Kerr, Pernille Harder. And, you know, it was a joy, but it was also a pleasure. Like, I felt grateful for the opportunity, and to be able to learn from these players with first-hand experience, it was something that I will always cherish within my career.
I remember being sent photos of you from Sharon Brownlee, of you sitting on a bench next to Ramona Backman, and I think there was also one of you sitting next to Sam Kerr.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that experience, playing with people like that?
It's weird, isn't it? Because I think when you're in that environment, you're just being a sponge. You're just absorbing everything you can, every little detail they give you, you're taking it in. And at that time, I was working a lot with the likes of, you know, Millie Bright as a defender, and everything she gave me, every little bit of, I don't know, advice, like, I just took it all in, and I just try to use all their knowledge, because they've got to the stage where they're at for a reason. They've been there, they've done that. And I think as a young player looking up to these people, the best thing you can do is just listen. So yeah, it's quite a surreal experience, but at the end of the day, when you are training, you are just one of them. And I think you also have to remember that look, you've earned your place, you've worked hard, and just like they have, you have every right and you deserve to be there. If Emma's given you a shot, she's given you that for a reason. And I think, you know, you need to take that, and you need to take the confidence with that, as well as the pressure of being with those big players.
So you're at school. I think you went to Molsham, didn't you, in Chelmsford? Big shout out to Molsham. And so you're doing long drives around the M25 to Cobham. How many times a week? 3 times a week?
3-4 times a week.
Yeah, big thanks to Steve and Helen for all that commitment. I guess to our younger people that might be listening, how did you juggle? What advice would you give to players that are juggling kind of being in a car, studying for GCSEs, and just kind of spinning all those plates? What advice would you give any of our younger listeners?
I think if you want it, you can do it and you will find a way. I know when I was at Chelsea, I wanted to be there. I wanted to get that contract for the next year. I wanted to make sure my name was at the top of the list. And don't get me wrong, I had long nights. So my mum would pick me up from school with dinner in the car. She would have my pajamas in the back seat ready for after training. I sometimes would do my homework on the laptop. And as a kid, you have so much energy. So do you know what? It probably didn't affect me as much as maybe you would think it would, but I know it probably definitely took a toll on my mum driving, sacrificing all that. And I think, honestly, without the support of her, I probably wouldn't have been able to stay at Chelsea for so long and commit to those long drives, commit to all those hours and all that hard work. And yeah, I had to sacrifice a lot. I had to sacrifice going out with my friends. I had to sacrifice, going to parties, going to family events because I don't know, I had homework to do or I had a match to play. But, I loved it and I knew it's what I wanted to do. And I knew, do you know what, if I did sacrifice it one day, I would make it. And I think that's what drove me. So I suppose the biggest advice I would say is if you want it, you can go get it and you can change your lifestyle and change your ways for you to go and do it.
That management, I think all the young players that I've met that have made that top tier, their time management is crucial. Like that appreciation of your slots of time is probably key, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so talk to us about England. I probably haven't. I think I mentioned this to your mum and dad when I saw them once out in Chelmsford, but I remember going to a workshop for women's and girls development officers, and I'm walking down the corridors of St George's Park, and all of a sudden there's this massive mural, like photo of you playing for England. I mean, how awesome is that? And it made me feel really proud that, I'd kind of played a very small part in your development, but I certainly knew who you were. And yeah, just talk to us a little bit about that. Wearing the England shirt, you captained England, haven't you, at some of the age groups, is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that journey.
Do you know, wearing an England shirt, no matter what age you are, no matter what age group you're playing for, it's always going to be an honour and it's always going to be something that stays with you, no matter what. Obviously, we all want to make it and wear that Lioness shirt and play for the first team, but I take immense pride in playing for the younger age groups, being able to go to the Euros, being able to travel the world. England's given me so many opportunities to go travel to countries that you would never dream of going to, or countries that you would never imagine yourself going to, like Azerbaijan and places like that. And culturally, you learn so much, and it just broadens your eyes about what life's like in other countries, what other girls are exposed to. But yeah, I'm 100% grateful for all the matches I played for England and all the times I've worn that shirt.
What age group did you captain your country?
Don't get me wrong, I think I've captained my country at under 17s, under 15s, and I can't remember if I did it under 19. So I'm just breaking into that under 23s bracket at the moment.
Okay. And obviously you've been suffering from an injury, another ACL, but what's the likelihood? Have you had any contact from England, and how's that looking?
Well, I had like a brief contact that I was on the road to getting my under 23s call up, and then I just did my ACL. So that was gutting, but I suppose it's also reassuring that England are looking at you, and definitely for the future that is something I'll be aiming for, and for sure getting that first team call up as well.
And what position are you playing in now on the pitch? You still the 4 or?
I'm 4, so that's centre defensive midfielder.
Okay, which you used to play when you were younger. I seem to remember very maturely. I wonder, would you say you're a victim of your success in that position? Like, has that not held you back, but obviously lots of very strong players gravitate towards the centre of the pitch. Do you feel like the competition for those central areas is extremely fierce?
Yeah, massively. I think a lot of girls coming through the age groups, they all want to play midfield because you can do a bit of everything. You can get on the ball, you can score, you can defend, you can be involved in the game for as long as you want to be involved in the game. And I think that's one luxury that position holds. I suppose at the back, you build the ball out and then that's kind of your job done to a certain extent. Likewise, at the front, your job's to score goals and you're less involved in the build-up, whereas the midfield, you're exposed to everything. You're the engines of the team. You have to be able to play 360 degrees. So yeah, definitely the competition within the midfield is very high, but I suppose it's something I thrive off, and I love competition, so it doesn't necessarily faze me as much.
Okay, so if we were to rewind 10 years, go back 10 years, you wouldn't start it all again and go, right, Charlotte Fleming, teach yourself to be a left back. You wouldn't change your position.
Well, it's funny because I actually went into Chelsea as a number 9. As a striker, and I remember I played my first season for Chelsea as the number 9, and I actually bagged a lot of goals, but I've just seemed to kind of work my way down the pitch. I would say I'm quite a versatile player, so likewise for England, I have played as a centre back, I've filtered as a number 8, I've played as a number 4, but 100% number 4 is where I think my qualities as a player shines the most and where I look most comfortable in the game.
Yeah, I would agree. Even though I do remember when you trialled for county, you put yourself at fullback. I don't know whether you realised there were so many people trialling at centre mid. You were just like, I'm just going to go out here to get seen. Very clever. Okay, so I guess a few quick fire questions. Most inspirational coach you've worked with?
Oh, that's hard, but I'd probably have to say Dean from Chelsea. I spent a lot of time with him. I went through the age groups with him, and I'm still in contact with him. We're still very good friends, good mates, meeting up for coffee now and again. But he's just always someone who's been very real with me, but has supported me in all of my journey.
Good. Hopes and aspirations for the next 10 years?
Would definitely like to see myself in the WSL, playing regular minutes for a team, and 100% getting that first senior England call up is definitely on my list.
I bet you've got this written down somewhere, haven't you? Knowing the Fleming family.
No, of course not.
In one of your dad's notepads. Okay, so remembering, I don't think we've mentioned that you're only 21, so quite very, very achievable ambitions. Okay, next quick fire question. Best player you've trained with?
Probably have to say Ji So-young from Chelsea.
Because?
Technically, words can't describe. She's so talented and so gifted, and trying to keep up with her is just another level.
Okay. Best player you've played against?
Oh, that's difficult. Oh my God, you're putting me on the spot here. I would probably say, I'm not going to lie, I don't know her name, but it was probably the German 10 when I played for England, played against the German 10, and she's managed to break through, I think, to the seniors of Germany. But yeah, she put me through in my paces, so I'll tell you that.
Okay. And then I guess advice to anyone listening right now that's probably just, on the cusp of that kind of elite journey. What would you say? Any words of wisdom to a young kind of 15-year-old?
I would 100% say that anything is possible. If you want it, go get it. The women's game has massively developed. There's so many opportunities for you to go get and for you to explore. And I think, do you know what? Young girls now growing up playing football, this is the time, especially with the Euros, with the World Cup going on at the moment. Everyone's starting to love the women's game, and I think the opportunities are only going to get bigger and better. So now's your time to go do it, and you have all the resources to be able to do it.
Brilliant. Okay, to close, we've always been asking the last couple of guests we've had on Women's World Cup, who's your money on for the Women's World Cup?
I feel like I should say England, but do you know what? I would love to see one of the underdogs go and smash it. Japan are looking really good. Nigeria are looking strong, and obviously I've got a few mates from Jamaica, so I'm 100% rooting for them. But yeah, I'd love to see, you know, one of the African nations or one of the underdogs to take the World Cup this year.
That sounds good. All right, Charlotte, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm going to turn the camera off, but we're wishing you luck with your next season, and we wish you a speedy recovery, and you know, your rehab continues.
Cheers, thank you, Emma.